Is Die Hard a Christmas movie, we ask? Yippee-ki-yay or a different task? Explosions and snowflakes with festive cheer, or just a tale of action so clear?
So why would we create a voting machine to ask whether or not Die Hard is a Christmas movie? Well, coworker and I, for the past many years, have been ringing the bell for a charity at a local grocery store, and he would show up in a costume or bring his dog dressed up or both, and I just kind of show up. It was time to step it up. So he and I hatched a plan. He built Bruce in a box. You know, that classic scene from the movie where he's crawling through the air ducts. And I would build this machine because I like building things out of Arduino and LEDs and stuff. So we set off to do that. Being a software person and a hobbyist electronics guy who liked Arduino, why not? What could go wrong? What's wrong with a self-imposed deadline or two? Being an experienced hobbyist and having been on this planet for a number of decades, I now approach all my new projects by defining the absolute baseline. What is the bare minimum we have to deliver in order for this to be considered a success? Start there and layer the frosting and junk on top of that. So this thing had to what? It had to catch people's attention. It had to allow people to vote and keep track of it. It might play music or not, who knows? And the people running it had to smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave. Merry Christmas. You'd be surprised how far that'll get you. So with the bare minimum defined, time to slather some frosting on top. So I had 3 weeks to construct the cabinet and the display, 3D print the 7-segment LED housings and design the mounting frames. Write the microcontroller software, wire up the electronics, collect the sound effects, and put it all together and test it, and all the while keeping my fingers crossed. A spoiler alert, it worked out. We got it done. First, my favorite part, the imagining. You know, you lay on the couch with your eyes closed and you imagine it. And with my coworker busy doing the Bruce in a Box project, I needed a partner. And what better partner in the modern age than a large language model? So I fired up ChatGPT and started telling it what I wanted, having no idea whether or not it was going to deliver. So I opened it up and I started typing. I said, show me an image of a game show style stand with 2 buttons voting yes and no. The stand is a pedestal that the adult will stand in front of. The pedestal also has a backboard display containing numeric scoreboards showing the counts of yes and no votes. Above the scoreboard is the question, is Die Hard a Christmas movie? And the presentation has a Christmas theme. So it showed me some options. Not bad. I reminded it that I wanted a numerical scoreboard in the back. It didn't. But the idea was there. That's great. And then I thought, what if you made it out of maple? And that looked cool. That looked really homemade. Nice. I can do that. I got some maple in the garage. I can do that. When you think about it, building a 7-foot wooden thing that doesn't tip over is actually kind of a challenge. Thankfully, treadmill manufacturers have figured this out a long time ago. And boy, they are sturdy. Just so happens, my neighbor had an old, broken, no longer repairable Nordic Track treadmill, just ready to be extricated from his garage, and he was nice enough to give it to me. All we had to do was take it apart, liberate the frame, which is, by the way, tube steel and high-quality welded, bolted steel. Liberate that from its electronics and the actual treadmill part, and voila, you have a stand that doesn't tip over very easily at all. With the problem of the base solved, now I had to work on the numerical scoreboard part. And remember, I need a baseline. I need the bare minimum requirements, and I needed something to keep track of a score visually. I've been to a volleyball game or two, the tournaments where they have the flip numbers, you know, this piece of vinyl with the number on it. Amazon, $15. Problem solved. Great. Now that's taken care of. I can just stick that in the box, and when we go to the venue, if this thing goes to sleep and won't wake up again, We just take the flip cards out and we still have a good time, right? It's the journey, right? It's not the destination, it's the company. So it's still going to be a good time. Thankfully, we didn't have to use it, but it was good to have it as a backup. Now, to design the real thing. Got on YouTube, started looking for 7-segment LED displays, and found a few. In fact, my favorite one, the one that I ended up basing mine on, was from the YouTube channel Playful Technology. Alistair Aitchison. Sorry. His was based on a design by Soxer, which was originally based on design by Paralyze. So I stand on the shoulders of giants. And it worked out great. I changed up my approach a little bit. He used a single LED strip through multiple digits. I decided to break mine up a little bit and make it modular in case I needed to replace them in the moment. But overall, it was very much that pattern and that methodology. As for software, his software wasn't quite what I needed, so I ended up writing my own. Sometimes your timelines are so tight that you don't get a chance to prototype. You know, the one you build is the one you use. You go to war with the army you have. Other times, you have a little bit of time, and it's so helpful to be able to bar napkin sketch something in real life and build a prototype that doesn't matter, that you're going to throw away and learn from. And that's what I got to do with this one. I was able to throw together a 1/4-inch MDF panel, drill a bunch of holes with the spacing that didn't matter, start figuring out how many digits. I mean, so many questions needed to be answered, and the prototype was really helpful and instrumental in doing that. I'm a self-identified tinkerer, and I built some things. I built a giant game show wheel that you would spin, and the speed of the chasing LEDs around the edge were controlled by the speed of the wheel, so it looked like it was working together. For a software development team, I built a pull request sculpture that lit up in different colors based on whether or not team members were waiting for someone to review a merge request on a code base. It's all out there on GitHub. It is monstrosities. They're terrible. They're rat's nests. The code base for this, not pretty, but the thing works. That's all that matters. I fired up ChatGPT and gave it this prompt. I'm starting an Arduino project to create a scoreboard that shows 2 scores, each having 3 digits. I'll be using WS2812 LEDs to make each digit. Each digit will be illuminated by a strip of WS2812 LEDs. Each digit will consist of 7 segments arranged as a 7-segment display, with each segment being illuminated by 4 WS2812 LEDs on the strip. Each segment will illuminate to represent the desired digit, with the possibilities of being, wait for it, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. To change the numerical score displayed, I want to use a total of 4 buttons. 2 buttons will control each side, with one of those buttons to increment the score and 1 button to decrement the score. For each LED segment, I want to use 4 LEDs of the strip. When the program starts, I want both sides of the display to show zeros. Submit. Clicky, clicky, waity, waity, and there's your code. And it explains how it does it. And it works. It worked. So that, and after another 12 hours of programming and fixing stuff and adding things and whatever, it was done. And it works. Source code is available at my GitHub account at Mr. Scott Fletcher. Mr. Scott Fletcher.
Gathered round the tree tonight, presents stacked up, oh what a sight. But here comes the age-old fight. Is Die Hard festive, dark or bright? Some say yes, some say no.
For the past many years, my coworker and I would bring music, holiday music, to play as part of the Ringing the Bell, and that would be covered under the BMI license of the particular site that we went to. But this year, I wanted music that reflected our question: is Die Hard a Christmas movie? So I got on Suno AI, loaded up the 4.0 model that had just come out. Again, we're recording this in January 2025, and gave it some prompts. And holy moly.
Snowflakes falling on the ground. Lights are twinkling all around. Gifts are wrapped and tied with bows. But there's a debate that grows. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie? Let's hear the points of view. Half say yeah, it's filled with cheer. Half say nah, it ain't so clear.
That 4.0 model was amazing. It generated, I don't know, maybe 25 songs. There are some dingers, yeah, so stuff that just didn't work. A combination of the decade and the style that I was asking for. But I kept 13 of them. The styles that really worked, country was tremendous. Country almost always worked. 13 songs. Licensed by me. Copyright. Generated by Suno AI. Available on a playlist in the description below. Tremendous. Imagine 13 songs talking about whether or not Die Hard is a Christmas movie. What an amazing time to be alive.
Is it or is it not in this cozy fireside spot?
So the challenge now is to take this prototype and turn it into a design for a human-sized thing that's fun to walk up to and press buttons. Oh, you need some padding. Oh. Snuggle bug. As you watch these retrospective videos, you forget that there was a point in time where that didn't exist. And decisions, so many decisions, like how wide does it need to be? In this particular case, the width of it was determined by the width of the base plus the plywood on the side that made it a cabinet. So I had to measure in space, figure out how wide it is, and build the cabinet based on that specification. Thankfully, over the past couple of years, I built some cabinets for a project here at the house. I had those mistakes out of the way. And I was all set to make some more new mistakes. Thankfully, it went okay. And any of the mistakes that are on here, I just chalked up to being homemade. It's got this sort of cabin feel to it. There's tear out around the LED holes. There's, it's imperfect. It looks great. I love it. I am in love with how this turns out. But it is not perfect. You wouldn't want this in your kitchen. It's got a very, I made this at summer camp feel to it. And it's very charming. I like it a lot. Making progress. I have the panel cut out, so I know exactly how wide and tall and what I have to work with. Now I just have to figure out how to put the 50 LEDs around the edge, where to space exactly the 3-digit displays on each side, and how big to make the letters, and how to space out the words and the phrases that we see over there. And I'm a physical guy. I like moving things on an actual thing. I haven't made the switch over to the iPad with the pencil and stuff. Someday. But for now, it's paper dolls, brother. So I took the actual panel that I'd cut out that's going to go in the machine, laid it on the floor, and put the 3-digit frames, just laid them on there. And I took a picture of it with my phone. Then I printed it out on actual paper out of the printer. About 5 sheets maybe to start. I can always print more. Then I sit at the desk, I get the pens out, and I start sketching out maybe where I want stuff, what colors I want, how thick, how bold, how to space it out.
One argument we can't escape. Die Hard's fate we must debate. Is it Christmas when John McClane fights his way through all the pain? Brother says it's winter cheer.
On top of that, then I might make little paper doll versions of the words so I can move those around without having to erase and rewrite stuff. So it's a very tactile experience. I like that a lot when I prototype, and that worked out really well for this project as well. A little nerdy thing, once I figured out on the piece of paper how big I wanted the letters, I could actually figure out then the scale, because I knew how wide the actual panel was, and I knew how wide the image of the panel was on the piece of paper, and I could compute the actual scale. I think it ended up being 1 to 1.63 or something like that. Translate that out then to the size of the letters and design those in Fusion 360. Print them out. I got it right. Miracle of miracles. I actually got it right on the first try. I wasn't expecting that at all. So, hey, that's one of the small blessings, the small miracles that helps you stay on schedule is being right occasionally. Dawned on me that if I glue these letters onto this wooden panel directly, I am stuck with this question and these answers forever. And if I ever want to change it, what am I going to do? Pry the glue off the wooden panel? Because let me tell you, I hadn't yet done the holes for the LEDs around the edge and hadn't cut the frame holes yet. And I knew that was going to be some work. And I didn't want to do that again if I just wanted to change the question. Thought briefly about doing magnets on each letter, and that seemed like a real pain. I wasn't sure that the magnets would reach through the wood to a backing piece of metal. I took a few naps on that, thinking about that with my eyes closed. Finally settled on interchangeable panels, like you see here. What if I glued the wood onto a little blank? And I could make as many blanks as I want. I make blanks all day, and I could put stuff on those all day. And if I had a way of affixing those onto the main panel, problem solved. I thought about doing that with magnets, and then I thought, I got like 4 days left before I have to ship this thing and take it to the place and have it work. Nope. But it just happens that I had in my hardware drawer some mirror mounting things, the spring-a-thingies that you mount a mirror on. I had that for an exercise area that, guess what, I never built. But I had the mirror mounts. Perfect. Those are perfect. And you know what? Having the word panels offset from the main panel gives it a bit of an outline, a design delineation visually that actually helps. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with that, putting it in a box or giving it a border or something, but having an offset gives it its own implied box due to the shadows caused by the casting of the light that's on it. Have I over-explained the way light works yet? I think so. It worked out. I love it. And if I want to do an Easter version, what would it be? I still haven't thought of another question I might want to ask, especially holiday related. I mean, what question are we going to ask for Easter or 4th of July or Halloween? I mean, you name it. Is Jack Skellington a nice guy? I mean, what other question is there going to be? I don't know, but we're prepared. We have a system that we can ask the public to vote on whatever we want. In terms of bare minimum requirements, we did not need the LEDs around the edge. But I fell in love with the idea as I was thinking about it, so I wanted to make sure that we got it in. The spacing of that is a bit of a trick. Yes, you can calculate the entire perimeter, divide the entire perimeter by the number of LEDs. But then how do you plant LEDs exactly where you want them? Because I wanted them anchored in the corner. If you don't anchor them in the corner, you get this weird sort of blank in the corner, and when they chase, they don't look right. So what I do, here's my trick. Anchor your corners. If you want an LED in every corner, put a dot in every corner. And then you're going to have to target that. So what I did was I measured 2 3/8 to the middle, and then I measured 2 3/8 from the other side. And then where I met in the middle, it was pretty close, but I have a center mark that both sides were missing. So I just nudged both of them to the center. And then that made the two adjacent ones a little bit wonky. So I just nudged them. Now in theory, I could have just kept nudging, but at some point, visually, it doesn't really matter. And always use pencil, brother. Always use pencil. Because you're going to be erasing something. Do not use pen. Don't use your drill. Don't assume that you're the math whiz you probably are, because math doesn't care how brilliant you are. Math will give you exactly what you ask it for, just like a computer, and it's going to be wrong. So much of this is just verify, re-verify, test, visually, prototype, pencil. Ask me how I know. Tell me you know how to do layout without telling me you know how to do layout. We reached a major milestone. All the wood is cut. All the holes were drilled. All the stuff is dry fit together. And it was time to put some sealer on it. I use a Verathane. It's water-based. It's low VOC. It's not cheap. It's $75 a gallon. But it's what I know. It's what I used for the kitchen project. And I had some laying around. Turns out the stuff I had laying around was bad, so I had to go buy some for $75 a gallon. So I could have made another decision, right? I could have made a different choice about the particular finish, but I didn't have time to screw it up. If I ended up using the wrong finish or using a finish that I wasn't familiar with, and it didn't work out, I would have to either strip it off or redo everything. Oh, no. $75 is a small price to pay to revisit an old friend whose behavior you understand. So yeah, I used Verathane again. And it worked out. I really like the way it performs. It's not great for outdoor stuff, but this thing is not going to sit out on the dock at the marina, right? It's going to see daylight maybe 10 hours a year. I don't know, if that. It's fine. Don't overthink it. These things are temporary. These are not monuments to humanity that need to withstand the millennia. Verathane worked. It was great. We're at a part of the project that, if I could describe the feeling, it's like watching snow slide off of a roof. It starts really slowly, and it speeds up, and it just kind of all falls into its place. It's on the ground, sure, but it's where it's supposed to be. That's what's happening right now. The Verathane's dried. We have all these parts. We have all these holes that the parts go into, tab A into slot B. And it's time to put it all in there. Is it all going to fit exactly right the first time? No. But we have files, we have drills, we can make it fit. And in fact, that's what happened. We cut all the holes for the LEDs around the edge exactly the way they needed to be. And then we slathered this Verathane finish on there. And some of the finish got in the holes. No big deal. I had to go around with the drill and sort of clear out the excess goo out of the holes and then put the LEDs in around the edge. And boy, that was satisfying. It looked great. The whole thing's like 7 feet tall, but all the brains are in the top part. And in fact, all the brains are on the door on the back of the top part. That might be the smartest decision I made about the whole thing. Some people that might seem obvious. To me, it felt like a brainstorm, like a stroke of genius. Oh, don't rob me of this feeling. By putting all the components on the door, that let me remove the door and work at the desk and wire up everything for the amount of time it took, and it took a little bit of time. There was a lot of soldering, a lot of crimping, a lot of cutting, and I enjoyed it. I listened to music, talked to people on the internet while I did it. Many feet of wire and lots of crimping. The one brain box that exists in the entire world was in the prototype and is in the final product. I still hadn't seen the thing work. I've seen the prototype work, and I've seen the cabinet being built, but I hadn't seen the two together. It was time to load up the latest, greatest version of the software onto the system. Up until this point, it was all in my office, with literally a super long USB cable going from my computer in my office over to the prototype board. But now I'm in the garage, and I had to use my laptop. No board selected. Maybe that's what's wrong. Oh no, I can't do anything right. Oh, for love of duck. I don't have time for this. Why don't you detect anything? Hey, guess what? USB ports on a laptop can go bad. Ask me how I know. Ask me how you can spend 45 minutes trying to troubleshoot a connection when it's actually your laptop that's broken. Woof. It's almost 4 o'clock the night before. I finally found a laptop that worked, and we got it going. We are down to the wire. It is the night before the event. It all works. It's all connected. It's all put together. In the garage, the thing works. No, be amazed with me. This does not happen all the time. It is a blessed moment that should be cherished. Because who knows when it'll happen again.
Oh, yes, I understand.
Yes, this iteration looked great. It did virtually everything I had in mind. There were a couple things. You know, the big round buttons were capable of lighting up. But I didn't have time to work that out with relays or an extension of the strip or a whole new set of addressables. But that's okay. That was one of those stretch goals. That's one of those not a bare minimum requirement. We're going to jettison it because we're out of time and we don't need to worry about it. We do not need to stay up all night trying to make a button light up. It's okay. Let it go. The cabinet's put together and now we just have to decorate. And my wife and I had already gone to Dollar General, got some cheap garland, light-up garland even, and some bows. And I'd already done, if I might say so myself, a very fancy sketch of what the decorations might look like. And we set to putting the garland on. It looked great. So happy with it. With the decoration done, we went to bed. All I needed to do now is sleep and look forward to success in the morning. The morning of December 10th, it was 6 a.m. It was still kind of dark, and it was time to load everything into the truck. So I got the base into the back, and then I was going to put this in the back seat of the truck. And as I was carrying it to the truck, that's when I realized I should have spent maybe a little bit more time on the bottom, because when I lifted it up, wouldn't you know, the legs splayed out like this, and the front and the back panels, not being glued or screwed in, they were just friction fit in their dados, fell out of that thing like toast out of an upside-down toaster. That doggone thing came out of there so fast, it was shocking. I did a quick assessment of the damage. You know, it looked bad, but, you know, I didn't think anything was broken. If anything was wrong, it was maybe going to be a connection or a crimp or something. So I had all those tools because I'm a worrywart, and I bring all the tools and all the spare parts. So I figured we could fix it on site. So I carefully scooped it up, kept the front and back panel, and snuck it into the back seat of the truck and headed out to the site. It was a busy time when I arrived. I'm a one-man band. I didn't get any video of that. But trust me when I say we put it together and it worked. Absolutely. As proven by the video of people voting on it. So it worked out. It was fine. A good reminder that no matter how bad it looks, breathe. Take a minute. Maybe it's not that bad. Prevent further damage. Don't rush into it. Don't be, kicking it because you're frustrated. It's fine. It's fine. Take a breath. Step back. Maybe go inside. Cry on someone's shoulder, whatever. But don't make the problem worse. It might not be as bad as you think it is. With the machine set up and powered on and blinking and making some noise, it did immediately start catching people's attention. What I wasn't prepared for was how not universal the question, is Die Hard a Christmas movie or not, is. I thought everyone would get it. I thought that, a bit like a toddler, I thought everyone thought the same thing that I did. But that is not the case. Unsurprisingly, though, people in my demographic, similar age, gender, background, whatever, did understand the question. They laughed when they saw it and they voted, the way that they do. Some were very passionate one way or another. Spoiler alert, it was 3-1 yes versus no. So 3 times the number of people thought it was a Christmas movie versus not. But the other demographic, the one that I wasn't expecting, were people who just... Well, I think it's a combination. They didn't understand the question and therefore didn't care. But if they understood the question, they cared. I mean, they really were passionate about it, about their choice. The people who said no were angry about it. And the people said yes were happy about it. So for longevity and happiness in life, I definitely recommend being in the yes category. But the other people who didn't understand the question at all, there's no explaining this question. It's a trivial question. It barely garners or deserves the attention that we're giving it right now in this very, very long video. But the people that didn't understand the question, my coworker Eric, he tried. He tried to explain it to people in the nicest way possible, in the best, and he tried different ways of explaining it too. None of it mattered. I think people nodded and smiled at him like we were insane people and just couldn't get away from us fast enough because the question is so weird. I thought everyone would know what this was. I thought it was a universal thing like Mickey Mouse. It's close. Don't get me wrong. It's close. It has a huge reach, but it is not Mickey Mouse. What a fun experiment. That experience of seeing people go in and out of the store and determining whether or not this question had resonance with them was really, I think, my favorite part of this entire project. After 12 hours of ringing the bell with various shifts of my coworkers and smiling and laughing with people who understood what the question was, it was time to go. It was time to pack it up. So my coworker Eric and I did just that. We dismantled the machine, got it back in my pickup truck, said goodbye, went our separate ways. I took a minute sitting in the truck before I pulled out, reflecting on the day, and was grateful. Everything went according to plan. I've done this enough times to know that that's a gift when everything works out the way you want it to. So I was grateful, and I headed home. Turns out we would be invited to take the machine again out to a college basketball game the next week, set it up, and have folks that were walking around in the arena vote on the question while we rang the bell again for the charity. That was a real pleasure and an honor, and I'm grateful that the machine that we had spent so much time on got a second chance at seeing some daylight and making some people smile about it. I am grateful to be at a stage of my life in which most of my projects succeed now. But every project that succeeds is built on the ashes of a failure in my past project life. So make no mistake, the battle scars are hidden by this sweater. And every project teaches you something, no matter how good you are. So this project taught me a few things as well. Number one, sunlight is bright. It is hard to beat sunlight. Man, take the brightest flashlight you have and it will be smothered by the sunlight. If I were to do this again, I might go mechanical. Our arrangement at the site was really actually valuable. It was a cloudy day and we were in shade for the most of the day. So you could read the sign. It was still not super easy to read. When we went to the basketball game and we were inside at night, it was perfect. It was like this. It was brilliant. It was great. It looked fabulous. So LEDs were the right way to go for inside and maybe a cloudy day, but bright sun, this would never have worked. Number two, design for transport. Check. I measured the truck and then built the thing to fit in it. That's fine. That is a perfectly valid design consideration, and I highly recommend it. Number three, design for storage. I didn't design for storage. I got lucky. The thing splits in half, and the important part is up here, and the base is actually disposable. I could build another base. I could build a tabletop base for the top. Base doesn't matter. In fact, I'm dismantling it and recovering the plywood that I used. But the top part, if I just spent a little bit more time thinking about the top part, maybe I could have designed it in a way where its own box became its base so that I didn't have any extra storage accoutrement. But as it is now, I have to build a box to stick this in, to put in the shed so it doesn't get wrecked. And number four, all the other stuff I learned or was reminded of or relearned, however you want to phrase that. These projects keep my brain young, and I'm going to keep doing them. Some people do crossword puzzles. I do this. That's fine. I hope you are able to find a spot in your life where you're able to scratch that itch. And I'm grateful that you watched this video. I hope it helped. If you have any questions, you know how to reach me. Mr. Scott Fletcher everywhere. This YouTube channel is Fletcher Makes. We'll see you next time.